Let me turn this over to Lisa Lorenzo and let her do our introduction of our guest. Lisa?
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you all for joining us. This is Dr. Lidia Martinez. Dr. Martinez is one of the core faculty at the College of Psychology for Nova Southeastern University. She teaches mental health therapy and addiction education programs. She has a PhD in marriage and family therapy. She has a long list of initials and all of her qualifications. She's a certified alcohol and drug counselor. She has 20 years of experience on anxiety disorders, parenting challenges. She is a relationship expert. She's also regular on Faith with Friends podcast, as well as health talks on our local radio here in Miami. This is Dr. Lidia Martinez. She's also a friend and a part of our Sunshine 100. So I'm going to turn it right over to you, Dr. Lidia. Thank you so much for joining us and for bringing this important topic today.
Oh, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I know that as we get closer and closer to the election, electricity in the air, if I could call it that, right? And we're all for us to talk about conflict resolution. Okay, so let's get started. Conflict resolution skills is what you're going to learn for personal, professional, and political conversations so that you can apply. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to talk about understanding the TKI conflict resolution model. You're going to apply those skills to your personal, professional, and political relationship settings and conflicts. And we're going to talk about how you can use those strategies with different within different cultural contexts, and also to help you with conflict resolution with effective communication. And then guess what? At the end, you're going to get a little bit of a chance to kind of discuss in small groups what you learned, what you gleaned, what you took away today, how you can apply this to your personal, your professional, and your political conversations. So let's get started. Understanding the Thomas Kilmann conflict modes. Like this conflict analysis that Thomas Kilmann came up with. If you'll see the red line going up on that, this is the assertiveness, and the focus is the desires on my need, okay? If I'm the person communicating with you, this is the person who is, their assertiveness skills, their expert level, their needs are being met. As the line goes up, okay? Now, the yellow line is cooperativeness. This is really more about relationships. This is the level of focus on others versus the level of focus on me, okay? So there's 5 collaborating styles, and we all kind of are familiar with them. We probably just don't know what the names are of them. I'm sure you're going to be able to relate as I say some of them. For you, some of them you may go, oh yeah, I'm very familiar with that one. I use that one a lot. That's my go-to. And some of you may say, oh, I know people who are just like that. And you're going to also say, oh, well, there's times where I use this one and there's times where I use that one. So let me define these for you a little bit better. So the competing style on the top upper left, this is all about the expert. This is the kind of conflict resolution that happens like in an emergency. You know, you need to make a fast decision. So you have someone who says, okay, jump, or get out of the way, or this is what you need to do. A parent-child relationship. It's effective and needed when those kind of situations. But really, it's a win-lose power struggle. It's all the power is on one side. So let me take you all the way to the bottom right corner where it says accommodating. This is where all the power is given away. This is where the other party, in order to maintain harmony, maintain a relationship, just gives it all away. Just take it. I don't want to argue. I don't want to be a part of this. Not just avoiding. I don't want it to be mistaken with avoiding. Accommodating is purposefully and intentionally wants to give the power away. So it will do anything. He or she will do anything to do that. Now, on the bottom left is the avoiding conflict style. Now, this person just walks away. Person is not intentional, wants to maintain neutrality, wants to withdraw from the situation. And sometimes I have to tell you that it might be if they're not ready to make that call, if they're not ready to confront that situation or to talk. And so then you'll see in the middle is compromising. And we've all talked about compromising, right? So if I have something I want to share, I split you half, I keep half. It's a win-win for most people. It's also a lose-lose for most people because you're having to give something up. Now, the one that we want to all try to go to is the one on the upper right-hand corner, which is collaborating. And collaborating is the kind of style of communication, conflict resolution style that not only gets win-win, but really takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of energy to listen to the other side as much as to express what their needs are. Listen to what is going on as much as to give what their needs are, and then come together with a common goal. So let me further explain these and kind of attach an animal and a little bit of a talk to it so that you can further understand them. So think of the competitive conflict handling mode as a lion. This is where the lion leads. I will lead. The competing involves standing up for your rights, defending for a position, simply trying to win. Assert, dominating. This is the expert point of view. Like I mentioned before, when to use it? Emergencies, quick decisions. A lot of unpopular actions are necessary, but come through this way. The potential impacts, it may damage relationships because nobody's stopping to ask or think or find out what the other person. A good example of this is really like a power differential relationship. And the easiest one to think of is like a parent telling a child what to do. The parent is the expert. Now, collaborating, this is the owl. This is the one where we work together, okay? The collaborating involves working with others to find a solution that fully everyone's concerns. This means that you're using both assertive and cooperative, and you seek to work together for solutions. An example would be working together to find a mutual beneficial solution, taking the time to plan, communicate, and all of that is intentional. Now, the compromising is more like a fox. We meet halfway. Why is it a fox? It's really more like okay, how can we balance? What am I going to get? And you're going to get kind of a relationship. The compromising or mutual acceptable solution that partially satisfies most everyone's concerns. So it can be a win-win, but it also could be a lose-lose. Definition is that it's intermediate with the assertiveness and the cooperativeness scale. So it's balancing the I and the we. And an example of this would be like each party gives up a little something in order to reach a middle ground. And this is moderate for both assertiveness and cooperativeness. Now, the other two are the avoiding and the accommodating. This is the avoiding would be more like the ostrich, where the ostrich completely hides away, avoids and sidesteps an issue, simply withdrawing from any situation. So this would be an unassertive, uncooperative side conflict, unassertive, uncooperative, delaying, evading conflicting situations. Now, accommodating, this is more like a chameleon. This is where I give in, okay? The chameleon is the I give in style. Unassertive but cooperative, prioritizes the relationship, and will always yield to others' point of views. Accommodating the TKI model in real life is really truly a balance. Involving and recognizing the need to adjust your approaches based on specific situation and individual needs. And it involves knowing what's going on and to be able to navigate conflicts on a professional and even in political conversations. So let me use two chefs and a lemon to kind of explain a little bit easier. So there's two chefs and they have different recipes. And the analogy of these chefs wanting to use a lemon symbolizes the approach for the conflict resolution. So there's these two chefs. They want to use a lemon. And if they were going to use the competing style, well, one chef would say, the lemon is mine, and that's it, that's final. Well, the other chef wouldn't have a lemon, right? That's easily defined. The accommodating two chefs, one chef would say, oh, just take it, just take it. I'll just find something else. The avoidant would be the two chefs walk away. Neither one of them want to touch the lemon. The compromising would say, all right, give me the lemon. We'll cut it in half. You take half, I take half, which you think, oh, okay, that seems like a fair compromise. But the collaborating says the two chefs sit down, they talk, and they say, well, what is it that you want out of this lemon? And one says, well, I really need the peel for mine. And the other one says, well, that's interesting because I only need the pulp and the juice. So they've come up with a solution by sitting down, listening, talking, evaluating, and now they didn't have to just cut it in half. So through collaboration and hard work, through communication, we can work together to reach mutual understanding through collaboration. So let's apply some of these TKI skills to personal relationships. Now, understanding different conflict handling styles is very important on a personal level. On a personal level, we're involving a lot more emotional responses, a lot more opinions, okay? So we want to work together to find a solution that satisfies the concerns of all parties. It requires communication, willingness to explore different perspectives, and again, collaborating is more than just win-win. Competing for assertiveness, the competitive style. This one is on a personal level, when you feel like you got to stand up for yourself, defend your position, you believe you're correct, and you don't want to back down. Useful, it really can, in a emergency or in a very when it's vital, when a decision has to be made in a timely fashion. And compromising on a personal level, this is something that would partially satisfy everyone's who is involved. And it requires a moderate so-so level of cooperation and assertiveness parties involved. So the accommodating and the accommodating in a personal relationship may want to value the relationship so much, they want to maintain harmony, that they'll just kind of sidestep their own issue, while the avoiding want not deal with it at all, not even at all. So understanding the dynamics between the assertiveness and the cooperation, the I and the we, is very important. It's crucial. Prioritize to know what's more important, the relationship, the individual. And this is something that you're going to have to think about as you are evaluating your conversations, your relationships. What's most important to you? Now, implementing these communication strategies are important. Last time that we met, we talked about active listening and I statements, and that is very key. Active listening is very important for understanding perspectives. Active listening involves full concentration, understanding, responding, and remembering what is said. And it's a key skill to build rapport with people. So eye contact and nonverbals, they have to align with that. That means we have to put our phones down, okay? That means we have to talk to each other. Clear construction, expression of concerns. This is where we clearly and constructively, we try to foster communication and atmosphere. We use those I statements, the ones that I taught you in the first talk that we had. And we try to be respectful in providing some feedback. And the feedback that we offer should be constructive criticism, should be positive and in a respectful manner. It helps to address issues without causing resentments or defensiveness. So now let's use TKI techniques for the professional setting. The TKI framework for conflict resolution at work may be a little different than when you are at home or talking to a loved one or someone that you have that confidence with. So the TKI exploring the 5 conflict handling modes might be good so that you know where you stand, where your boundaries are, and the framework, includes the competing, collaborating, compromising, avoiding, accommodating. And I have to admit that they are all useful at one point or another. But I can't determine that for you. You have to determine that for you. And in a work situation, that takes a lot of time for your head. Identifying the appropriate situation for each mode is very, very important. Understanding when to apply each one, knowing the nature and the importance of the conflict, the level of the relationship involved, recognizing the impact that the mode has on your professional relationships, evaluating how each one of these 5 modes could influence the trust, communication, future interactions, business that you may have, right? So using these to enhance team dynamics, unless you are just a company of one, but you're going to have some team dynamics. And leveraging collaboration for improved problem solving is important. Using that collaboration technique to harness diverse perspectives and expertise is more effective and helps with innovative solutions. Balancing that assertiveness, that authority figure, the one that knows everything, and empathy and conflict resolution is very important. We have to have a balance, okay? With that seesaw can't be to one side. That's what's going to foster positive outcomes and constructive outcomes. So building a consensus through effective compromising, utilizing compromising to reach mutual acceptable solutions while maintaining positive team dynamics and morale is very important in a professional and for professional team dynamics. So now what about effective leadership in a professional? We want to employ assertiveness to convey expectations, set boundaries, and drive achievement. We want to make these strategic objectives. You want to foster a culture of open communication and collaboration. What does that look like, right? That looks like where team members feel like they're empowered to communicate openly and collaborate effectively. Mean that as a leader, you have to set the tone. And if somebody talks, that you want to listen, that you had to set that time and that energy so that you give that attention verbally, non-verbally, so that your coworkers or whoever you are managing under you or with you feel like they can come to you and talk to you. Adapting these conflict handling modes to different leadership scenarios is very important. Planning ahead, thinking about like the next board meeting you're going to have, or the next case management meeting, or the next whatever type of meeting that you're going to have. What kind of leader are you going to be? What kind of information are you just going to have this meeting be, input, output, or is it going to be let's everyone participate? Set the tone with how you want to make that meeting. Leadership context is what's going to set the tone for how that meeting is going to go. So now let's talk about, that's right, political conflicts and applying TKI approaches to political conversations. Here we go. Let's understand a little bit about the political landscape, okay? And we all have to do this. We have to analyze the power dynamics and the historical context. We have to understand the distribution of power and the historical grievances and to comprehend the complexity of what's going on. We have to identify the key stakeholders and their interests, recognizing the influential parties, their motivations, to develop the comprehensive understanding of a conflict. We also have to assess the impact of political decisions, evaluating the consequences of political actions to grasp the implications of conflict dynamics, and examining the role of external actors, considering the involvement of external forces and their influence on a political conflict. We want to use collaborative negotiation strategies. We want to promote dialogue and constructive communication, encouraging open and positive interactions to foster mutual understanding and cooperation. How do we do that? Well, we start by seeking common ground and shared objectives, identifying areas of agreement, common goals to facilitate the negotiation process and build a consensus. We have to also explore creative problem-solving approaches, engaging in innovative and flexible problem-solving methods to address complex political issues effectively. We want to implement trust-building measures, right? Trust-building measures. Establishing trust through transparency and reliability, enhancing credibility of negotiation efforts. So applying assertive leadership and decision-making comes with 4 small steps. Demonstrating a firmness in your principled assertiveness. You want to display confidence and determination while upholding ethical principles to convey a strong leadership stance. That's very different than the competitive style of the TKI conflict handling model. You want to exhibit confidence, not competition. Making timely and informed decisions, utilizing comprehensive information, swift decision-making to address critical political challenges promptly. This is very different than the avoidance style. The avoidance style says, I'm not going to talk about this ever. But this making timely, informed decisions says, I'm not going to talk about it now, but maybe we can talk about this later on. Let me think about it a little bit. Let me prepare for it. I want to balance assertiveness and empathy and understanding, finding an equilibrium between assertive actions and empathic considerations to navigate the complexities of political conflicts. You also don't want to, like the accommodating style, just give it all up and say, oh, I don't want to deal with this. Go ahead. It's you. It's all you. I don't want to have an opinion here. It's okay. It's okay to have an opinion. And we want to have some empathy, not just for others, but for our own self. We want to create a balance in our relationships. We want to emphasize the importance of a consensus building. We want to highlight the significance of the collaborative decision-making and consensus building for sustainable political resolutions. Wow, that's a mouthful, right? So how do we do that? We want to manage our emotions and mitigate escalations, recognizing and addressing emotional triggers. And I'm not going to get touchy-feely with you. Not this time. I did that last time. I want to make sure that this is really more of a call to action. We really need to know where we stand. We need to be able to identify our emotional triggers, address them constructively, prevent these escalations in political conflicts. Number 2, we want to implement effective de-escalation techniques, using proven methods to reduce tension and mitigate confrontations to politically charged situations. What I haven't told you is that I have one more talk, and that's really more on de-escalation. We'll talk about that the next. But coming back to this, we want to establish channels for emotional expression. We want to create platforms and constructive expression of emotions to prevent repressing those feelings, okay, from feeling or from fueling conflictive dynamics. We want to foster a culture of emotional intelligence. That's right. Emotional intelligence is learned. And you can promote some of that with some self-awareness, knowing how you feel, knowing how others, having empathy for others, seeing how they feel, and cultivate that in an environment that values emotional intelligence in political interactions. Now, let's strategize for long-term stability and for reconciliation. We want to develop sustainable, peaceful building initiatives, creating comprehensive strategies, initiatives aimed at fostering lasting peace and reconciliation. We want to address underlying structural and systemic issues. We want to root causes so that we know that we're trying to ensure sustainable resolutions. We want to engage in inclusive and participatory processes. We want to involve all voices and perspectives in the decision-making process. We want to promote inclusive and sustainable political solutions. Even when we talk to others, committing to ongoing dialogue and conflict resolution, maintaining dedicated efforts toward continuous dialogue. This isn't going to be one giant conversation. Think of it like a string of lights, okay? It's going to be a string of conversations that are attached to each other. And that's how we're going to be able to uphold the stability and keep reconciliation. So let's talk about a little bit more about the cultural context. How can we apply the TKI strategies? We have to respect culture, to adapt the TKI strategies, making sure that we are respecting cultural norms to effectively communicate and collaborate. We have different communication styles. There's hierarchies of authority, and there's the individual versus group orientations with different types of cultural contexts that we want to keep in mind as we are talking to other cultures, as we see other variations. We want to adopt some flexible approaches, have some sensitivity, cultural sensitivity when we're applying the TKI strategies. We want to customize conflict resolution and make sure that it's part of the cultural values and preferences that will be essential for success. We want to embrace diversity and cultural perspectives and allow for adoption of more inclusion in our conflict resolution strategies. We want to do some negotiation and compromise. That means that you have to recognize and adapt to cultural differences. We want to recognize those cultural sensitivities. There's cultural taboos, cultural etiquette. We want to understand the taboos and traditions. We want to respect religious practices. We want to build a cross-cultural trust. How do we do that? How do we do that? By establishing trust and rapport. And where does that come from? How we talk. That comes from the way that we communicate with others. We demonstrate cultural competency and empathy, and we build trust and rapport by our transparency, our openness, by celebrating each other, by talking about these things. So let's see how we can use the TKI conflict resolution in some key points. We want to recognize that the value of flexibility in conflict resolution is very important. It's going to be up to you as to how flexible, how adaptable are you going to be in your talks, in your conversations on a personal level, on a professional level, on a political level, across cultures. You have to develop communication strategies. That means that it's going to take a lot of time to reach that mutual beneficial solution. You want to embrace the constructive conflict management so we can level out disagreements and drive a positive change. So mastering conflict resolution skills in leadership means that you set the tone. Conflict resolution as a leadership skill is essential. Negotiation strategies for leaders is understandably effective when it's done in a positive way. And if it's done in a positive way, you're going to have positive outcomes. Conflict management with diverse teams. This is one way for you to be able to leverage this TKI, knowing which one of those 5 conflict handling skills that you can use to promote inclusivity and understanding. You want to build a culture of constructive conflict resolution. So exploring the 5 conflict modes, we have to know that the competitive mode, understanding and the competitive axis, the nature of competitive mode in conflict resolution sometimes is necessary. But that's going to be up to you to determine that. In which situation will you apply it? Sometimes the collaborative mode is necessary. So when we explore cooperating in the assertive mode and we have the time and the energy and people who want to work together, we are going to have that environment to be able to foster collaboration. Sometimes you will just have to compromise. And you're going to have to know the nature of compromising and what role that will play in your relationships, personal, professional, or in your political communication. And believe it or not, there is a place for the eating mode. Okay. Sometimes it's just not the right time to talk about it. The best thing to do is just walk away. So enhancing communications through TKI, we have to use active listening techniques. We talked about this last time. Active listening techniques are so powerful. Paraphrasing or just listening to someone is incredibly powerful. And if you don't trust me, try it. Try it on your own. We did it last time, and it was very powerful. Assertive communication strategies, exploring the role of assertive communication, there's a need for it, especially when resolving conflicts. Nonverbal communication cues, that's important too. If your nonverbals don't match your verbals, you're going to come across like you are not being genuine, and that's not what you want. So we have to learn to read the room, read the situation, read the person in front of you. Read yourself. Know if you are even up for the challenge or not. Know what's going on so that you know how and when to adapt which conflict resolution handling style. So, what about team dynamics? Let's utilize TKI to manage conflicts within teams to foster a harmonious work environment. We want to build collaborative, cohesive relationships. We want to make sure that we resolve these conflicts within our departments before we have to go outside of our department. And we want to promote a culture of open communication. So I've said a lot. I've gone through a lot of information that you can apply all 5 of the different communication conflict handling modes to your professional, your personal, and your political conversations. So you're going to be broken into some groups now. And I'd like to know what you learned today. How can you apply some of this information to personal, professional, even political conversations? Ask yourself questions like, what is my go-to conflict handling style? Where can I do better?
Okay, we're about ready to break into the rooms, guys. You'll be put into a room. Let me just do this. You're going to have a very short period of time. This is not really to get into deep conversation. And I know you just got a PhD level presentation in 25 to 30 minutes. It's incredible, all the information there, but we thought it was important to provide it for you. Let's go into the rooms for a few minutes. Just talk amongst yourself about some things that you learned, some maybe a point or two you picked up. And then we'll come back together and we'll wrap this up. Thank you for being on this, and let's go to the rooms. Dr. Lydia, I'll let you just wrap up for you real quick, and you can see how to get a hold of her here. And then I'll turn it over to someone else. Doctor?
Thank you so much. I know that it's a lot of information, but I've really, when I was thinking about putting it together, I thought, oh, I got to leave this out. And I got to tell you, I mean, I cut out a lot of things because I really, really feel like this is at least the nuts and bolts for you to be able to navigate in the next couple of months. It's going to be a hard time for our country. And I do want you to be able to be equipped with some skills so that you can talk personally, professionally, and about political conversations. So I want to thank you so much for having, I can put my information here, and I just really want to thank you for everything. Thank you that you're even doing this for our community. So I hope that this will overflow and get the conversation talking about conflict resolution.
And I like what Sharon Joyce just said, that she'd like to continue this conversation. Maybe there's a time we could do more of that. And so let's work on that. And again, thank you, Dr. Martinez. We thank everybody for being a part of this. Next, I've got Nathan Stock, who is effectively the guy that's running this work across the United States and the work that we're doing here. He's been a great friend to us.
Big thanks real quick to Kurt, Jennifer, and Lisa for organizing these sessions. A huge thanks, Dr. Martinez, for sharing all of your insights today. As someone who's an associate director in a conflict resolution department, let me just strongly second everything that Dr. Martinez said. I have popped on this call to harass all of you right now to click on the link that I just dropped in the chat. Lorianne just put it in again. This is a one-time survey of all of the members of these networks that the Carter Center is supporting. So we're supporting the Sun 100 in Florida. We're also supporting similar networks in Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, North Carolina, and Wisconsin. I'm going to stop talking. We're going to give you 5 minutes to fill this out. The point I would make here is that your answers to these questions are critical for helping us to understand how we're doing. Is this working? We're trying to build trust in institutions, reduce fear of our fellow Americans, build confidence in elections, ultimately, reduce violence. And this survey is one of the most important instruments we have to hear feedback from you about what's working, what's not, what we can change. So I'm going to stop talking. Hit the link, take 5 minutes, please fill this out, and then we'll pass it to Jennifer. Thank you.
Now, this is so important that we're going to let you fill it out on the call right now, and we're going to give you 5 minutes to do so. So we're going to take a little bit of a break, and we'll reconvene at 1:58. While you're finishing up, I wanted to announce what we're going to be doing for our webinar next month. With the election just a month and a half away, we're going to take the liberty of scheduling a 2-hour meeting in October. So October 17th, the meeting will be from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. So instead of ending at 2, it'll end at 3. And what we're going to do during this meeting, with the help of an outside expert on political violence, we're going to explore how this phenomenon is harming our communities. We'll also discuss the potential for tension surrounding the election, and we'll develop practical strategies that we can implement. So we're going to be developing the strategies and how we're going to implement them together to keep our communities safe. Leading us in this 2-hour-long workshop is going to be our own Nathan Stock. I don't know, for those of you who are new, you might not know that Nathan has been working to mitigate political and identity-based violence in the United States since 2020. He actually is the creator of the project that we're all engaged in, and through this work, he's built diverse networks of citizens from across the political spectrum to serve as community advocates. He's also worked to strengthen community infrastructure for violence mitigation, building trust and connections across various lines of difference. Nathan will be joined by Tabitha Pilgrim Thompson. She's the Director of Strategic Partnerships and Initiatives at the Horizon Project. And she's also served as Acting Director of the Program on Nonviolent Action and the United States Institute of Peace. Tabitha has worked with grassroots activists and peace builders and addressed the grievance and injustice that's driven violent conflict. She also helped donor organizations like the US government, the UN agencies, and various global foundations to better understand how they can effectively support social movements. So we're very excited to be joined by Tabitha and Nathan next week for organizing for community safety this election season. And again, this is occurring on October 17th from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. And this will prepare us to enter into the final 2 weeks of the election. So we really hope that you join us. It will give you important skills needed for being effective cultivators of peace and builders of bridges in what has already been a pretty politically tense election. So we look forward to seeing you on October 17th from 1 to 3 p.m. And we want to thank Dr. Lidia one more time for joining us. And we want to thank all of you for joining us. Have a wonderful rest of your week, and we'll see you next month.